A queen stares into her mirror, and every day her identity teeters on a single answer: who is worthiest? Celebrated fairy tales rarely reveal that their darkest villains are driven not by vanity, but by a desperate need for external validation, a need that can turn admiration into isolation and fear. What if Snow White's story wasn't just about envy, but a blueprint for understanding how fragile our own self-worth becomes when it hangs on comparison? The psychology behind the mirror's power is more unsettling and more relevant than you think. Comparison is hardwired into the human mind. Long before mirrors lined palace walls, people measured themselves against those around them. In 1954, social psychologist Leon Festinger described this drive as the comparison instinct, the urge to rank ourselves, to know where we stand. It isn't just a habit, it's a basic feature of how our brains process identity and belonging. Modern neuroscience has traced this impulse to the mirror neuron system, clusters of brain cells that fire both when we act and when we watch others act. These cells help us read social cues and imagine ourselves in someone else's place, but they also set the stage for endless self-measurement. Standing alone with her mirror, the queen isn't just asking about beauty. She's seeking proof that she still matters, that she still outranks everyone else. The mirror becomes more than glass and silver. It's a judge, a scoreboard, a lifeline. Each answer carries the weight of identity. If she's not the fairest, who is she at all? Today, the same instinct pulses through social media feeds and filtered selfies. Every like, every follower count becomes a new reflection. The platforms are digital mirrors, offering instant verdicts on worth. The Queen's ritual isn't a relic, it's a pattern repeated millions of times a day, wherever people measure themselves against an ideal. The stakes feel just as high as they did in fairy tales, because for the mind, the threat of being outranked is never just about status, it's about survival. Grand claims of superiority often hide a deep, secret doubt. In clinical terms, this is called fragile grandiosity, a brittle shell of confidence that cracks under pressure. Otto Kernberg, writing in 1975, described this pattern as a split between the idealized self and the feared, worthless self. The Queen's obsession with being the fairest is not simple pride. It is a desperate defense against an emptiness she cannot face. Every compliment from the mirror is a dose of relief, but the effect fades quickly. The hunger for praise grows sharper, not softer, with each repetition. Heinz Kohut, in his work from 1971, called this the search for narcissism supply. The Queen depends on her reflection to confirm her worth, but this supply is never stable. The moment the mirror's answer wavers, anxiety floods in. Studies from the 2010s show that people with contingent self-esteem, self-worth tied to outside approval are more likely to suffer anxiety and depression. The Queen's grandeur is not a sign of strength, but of vulnerability. Her identity is a house of cards, built on the shifting winds of admiration. Without constant validation, the structure threatens to collapse. The need to be admired becomes a burden, trapping her in a cycle of seeking and fearing the very judgment she cannot escape. Envy does not always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly, a shadow at the edge of admiration, and then grows sharp when a rival appears. In the 1812 Grimm version, the Queen is not a distant stepmother, but Snow White's own mother, a detail that deepens the sense of betrayal and amplifies the fear of being replaced by someone closest to you. Psychological research has shown that envy is not just a passing feeling. It can ignite rivalry even where none existed before. A 1998 study by Bushman and Baumeister found that people with fragile self-esteem respond to perceived threats with sudden, targeted hostility. For the Queen, Snow White's beauty is not a gentle reminder of youth, but a living threat to her own sense of worth. The mirror's answer transforms Snow White from daughter to competitor in an instant. The Queen's gaze, once searching for reassurance, now narrows with suspicion. Insecurity sharpens into rivalry, and admiration flips to fear. The stage is set for conflict, not because Snow White seeks to dethrone her, but because the Queen cannot bear to be second best, even to her own child. Retaliation arrives in the form of a poisoned apple, shiny, perfect, promising to erase the threat. The Queen's aggression is not random. It is the final act of threatened egotism, a pattern documented in psychology since the early 2000s. When fragile self-worth is challenged, hostility becomes a defense, targeting the source of humiliation. The apple is more than a weapon. It is an attempt to silence comparison forever, to freeze Snow White in a state where she can no longer surpass or even exist as a rival. But the victory is hollow. The Queen stands alone, her mirror no longer offering comfort, only empty reflection. A 2015 study found that chronic comparison and rivalry increase loneliness and reduce well-being. The Queen's triumph isolates her, trapping her in a cycle of suspicion and emptiness. Meanwhile, studies by John Kabat-Zinn in 2003 and others show that self-compassion, meeting one's own pain with understanding instead of punishment, can interrupt this cycle. The Queen never takes this path. The story leaves her with her mirror and her crown, but nothing else. The tale asks, what if, instead of erasing the rival, we learn to soften our own judgment? Today, social media is the new mirror. Comparison shapes our self-worth more than ever. Until we break that spell, envy and insecurity will keep ruling from the shadows. What reflection do you chase?